Hello guys, Jared speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode 1456. Today we reacting to Spots of Love podcast episode 1. Emmi, my friend Emmi from Australia. She's best known as Boy History fans moderator, and Planet Bob moderator. She's also a part of my LJPCBM group members, and she's been part of the LJPCBM family. So, as of say December 2023. So let's react to this begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, I'm gonna pause this. Hang on. We'll start with the beginning. Boy History Fans presents, okay? Spots of Love podcast, okay? Emmi, okay?
Hello, Barney History fans. Welcome to Spots of Love podcast. I am your host, Karan, one of the newer admins of this wonderful group, and I'm very excited to be here to bring you this new podcast and talk with so many different people in our family here within this group, both fans and cast and crew, whoever we get an opportunity to get on the camera on the screen with us and have conversations about Barney and all the things revolving around that in the show is what this podcast is about. I do want to put a disclaimer that this is a brand new podcast for Barney History fans. This is not a takeover of the previous one, which was great on its own. We want to kind of go in a new direction and try some new things, and so you'll see things on this podcast that you haven't seen before, and we're going to try those out. And if they work, great. If they don't, then we'll try new things. If you have suggestions and that kind of thing, I invite you.
Yeah, it was a good idea, Karen. If you watch this episode of LJ Reacts, continue on.
Share those with us because ultimately this is the Barney History Fans podcast. I may be the host, but this is all of our podcasts, so I want your input on that as well. This podcast is different than the first one, but some of the things that are the same is we're here to
Yeah. I'll get the reaction videos to the other one. Because I haven't seen the first one yet. I seen bits of it at the time. Because I seen Emmi's interview and your first podcast. Because I haven't seen that yet. And that's part of our future goals of LGBS. Because that'll be the time frame to make this happen. But that's just me, of course. Continue on.
about Barney and our love for Barney, or maybe our experiences that maybe we didn't love Barney so much. Or,
Okay.
what our life has been like with this character in and around us, what it's been like inside the group, and that kind of a thing. And so I'm very excited to have the first guest on today, Emmi, who is one of the moderators for the Barney History Fans. We also have a great relationship on a show outside of Barney, and she's just an all-around great person and human being, and I'm very excited to have her as the very first guest. So, Emmi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really good. Today is, like I told you before we got started, there's no complaints from me today, which is nice. I don't complain a lot, but it's always nice when the day seems to go by fairly easy and there's not a lot of work that has to be done. So, I'm doing very well. You're in Australia, so we're on completely. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. It's like 6 p.m. Central Time here, but it's 11 a.m. in the morning for you.
Yeah. Currently, as I'm taping this right now, February 12th at around 11:05 p.m. She's now basically, I don't know what time she was at right now, if she's watching this in the moment, Belgium be at, but, yeah, it makes sense anyway. Continue on.
Different time schedules. Do you have a busy
Yeah.
day set up for yourself today?
The beginning of the year is always really slow going, because I work very weird hours as a freelance instructor for people who don't speak English. I teach English to people who don't speak English, and I also teach our primary your elementary school kids English and math. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. That subject
Mm-hmm.
change later on, but the beginning of the year is always pretty slow. So so
That's
that's
always
why
nice.
I'm able to do this at 11 a.m.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You'll see me write some things as we're going along. I just like to make notes of things that I might want to come back to or that kind of a thing. So if you see me kind of scribbling while you're talking, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
ignoring you. I just want to take some notes for us.
Exactly.
Um, let's get started. Let's talk about how you first came to find Barney and what that experience was like. Do you remember your first connection with the character, and what that was like?
So the thing that I remember the most were videotapes that came out around the mid 90s. So because that's what I saw first. That's what I ultimately grew up with. So talent show was a big one.
Yeah.
Adventure Bus. There was also Once Upon a Time. One, two, three,
Mm-hmm.
four seasons, fun and games. So that cluster of videos that came out around 96, 97
Wow.
that were released were the ones that I ultimately, just grew up with and watched and
Wow.
really, really loved. And, I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a very loud household. I am of Mediterranean descent. Um, so,
Wow.
so Barney at the time for me was kind of like this oasis of calm, this kind of this fun little sing along where you could also learn some stuff. You could
Yeah.
also learn some stuff, but you could also kind of engage with
Wow.
the characters and have that fun sing along for 30 minutes minimum
Mm-hmm.
a day.
Wow.
So that was ultimately what I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Do you remember?
Hold on. Yeah. What you say?
Sing along for 30 minutes minimum stuff. You could
Yeah.
also learn some stuff, but you could also kind of engage with the characters and have that fun sing along for 30 minutes minimum
Yeah.
a day. So
Oh.
that was ultimately what I grew up with.
Mm.
Wonderful. Do you remember? Like, what age were you around that time when those came into your life? Those
I was
videos.
about three. I was about
Wow.
2 or 3. So
So
I was
pretty well.
very, very young. I know some people get introduced even younger, but I
Wow.
remember being about 2 or 3.
Wow.
And that was a big thing in my life for those years. But Barney was, I guess, part of, a rotating um, a rotation of what I watched. So it wasn't just Barney; it was also Sesame Street and Play School and Bananas in
Wow.
Pajamas
Oh yeah.
Wow.
and a show about a
Mm-hmm.
little car called Brom, which I really
Wait,
really
what did she
loved,
say?
and a show about a little car called Brom, which I really really loved. I don't think it was a big thing in America, but it was something I really loved as well. But Barney was part of that rotation
Mm-hmm.
of kids shows that I really loved watching in the mid to late 1990s.
Okay.
Nice. That's awesome. When you look back, um, Barney, Sesame Street, Play School, those kind of shows that you mentioned, were rooted a lot in like the educational realm, right? Of teaching teaching young children these different lessons or skills, letters and recognition, that kind of thing. Do you think Barney or any of those other shows played a part in? You mentioned that you kind of you teach now, freelance teaching. Do you think that played a part in why you are an educator now?
Yeah, I think it was more so because after I stopped. Oh, I just dropped something. That's okay.
It's okay.
After I stopped watching Barney, I continued watching Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped watching Barney around um, it would have been 99 2000, and then I continued watching Sesame Street. So I kind of pledged allegiance to Sesame Street in a way.
Wow.
But ultimately, yeah, it was a huge influence on what I'm doing now. It was a huge influence because I've always known that I've wanted to be an educator, and like even in high school. I remember choosing, these electives like child studies and all that sort of stuff
Yeah.
because I knew that once I left I would want to kind of go into some sort of instructional kind of thing, but also like I know that you do some instruction as well, like you do some like
Mm-hmm.
to elementary kids as well.
Yep, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit, and it's both to elementary and high school this time. Last year it
Mm.
was middle school aged kids, um, for various different things. But yeah, I get to go inside schools and work alongside kids and impact them,
Mm-hmm.
which is a weird thing sometimes.
Yeah, which I mentioned in these reaction videos I did Mr. K's Clubhouse. Continue on.
Yeah, because I imagine that Barney would have impacted you, because you would have still been watching, because after I stopped watching, you were still watching from what I gather.
I watched, yeah. Now I say it very proudly that I watched it far longer than what anyone probably should have. Um, I never left the series, so I was introduced to it because my older brother, who's a year older than me, he
Mm-hmm.
was hooked on Barney. He was born in '92, so it was right at
Wow.
the start of in January of '92. So he was born right before it started to air on PBS.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had all of the like the like chairs and like bed linens and all of those kind of things that was out for Barney at the time, and they all got passed to me when I was born.
Wow.
And I literally watched it till the end of the series. I watch it now with my daughters, but I watched it
Wow.
when the episodes aired. I have every video all the way to 2009 when it ended. So I
Wow.
never separated from it, but it did play a part in me wanting to be an educator because one of my first goals or dreams was to be a teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you stopped though around you said like 99 2000. Um,
Mm-hmm.
do you think you just aged out of it? Or was there a shift in your life where you felt that Barney was maybe too childlike for you um, at that time in your life?
That's actually a really good question, because I don't remember like completely separating from it at the time. Like I don't think there was any kind of demarcation where I was watching Barney and then I wasn't watching Barney.
Okay.
Like I think it was more of a soft landing. It was I kind of just gradually kind of aged out of it, because by the time I stopped watching, I was in kindergarten year one, first grade.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously with that kind of with going to school and stuff, I mean, it, a lot of because of that change, you don't kind of find yourself as home as much and watching TV as much. So I think that also played a role in just me aging out of it naturally. But I think um, also also there was this kind of cultural expectation on kids when they reached a certain age to not engage with it anymore.
Wow.
But I don't think I was fully conscious of it until I was about 10, 10, 11, and that's when I actually did kind of become a bit of a Barney hater.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. Jeez. Continue on.
Throwing
Uh,
birthday bashing parties or anything?
No, not no. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that intense. But I did say I don't know. I did say a couple of mean things about Barney, and that turned out to be completely untrue.
Yeah.
Wow.
Completely untrue. Like I remember I was saying, oh, you know, the I the funniest thing for me was I felt betrayed that the child actors on the show were actors.
Interesting.
Wow.
I felt so betrayed by that. Like they're not real kids just going about their day; they're actors.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was children. Preteens are not the most rational beings.
Yeah.
So, and I was not the most rational being back then. So, but I think that's why I'm almost 30 and I'm seeing it with fresh eyes now. And
Yeah. Now you're currently furious. I'm taping this LJPCBM ads episode right now. Continue on.
really into the production aspects of the show and researching those and being told those in the community like this and Barney History Fans is really good, because not only does it humanize everyone who worked on the production, not saying that everyone should be humanized regardless of what they do. Not only does it humanize people who worked on the production, but it also kind of gives a face to what actually went on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't, this scandalous, exaggerated tabloid fodder that everyone kind of assumes that it was.
Yeah. It's interesting because I never grew out of Barney, like I said, but there were moments where I was, in a way, like ashamed of being, I think maybe the age that I was, liking a show that was clearly made and meant for preschool age children. But I had this connection. I tell people all the time I used to imitate, like Barney in front of the TV. I would stand in front of it and imitate the voice, the dance moves, everything. And I did that from a very young age, from the moment I can walk and talk, until the show went off the air when I was like a sophomore in high school, it's a weird thing to admit.
Which just saddens me because I was a sophomore in high school the same way when it first got canceled. Around, let's say, freshman year in 2009. 2010 for me, we had new episodes, we had repeats for some reason for season 14. And for some reason, I was only 15 and when I first got canceled, So that was like, why? Because at the time like this, it was too much. So, very good with that. It was a long story behind this whole cancellation behind Barney. So, then in 2011, they have a stage show behind Barney. And I attended one of those events. And they sent me a card. I sent Barney a card for some reason. And the next some days later, I told him to have it on LJPCBM. I was like, no, it's legal. I'm like, kidding me? Then I don't have to do this, blah, blah. And he's like, LJPCBM such quote is fake. I'm like, dude, LJPCBM is not even fake. I just want to make more sense. Because LJPCBM is not really fake. LJPCBM is, to me, is a 17-year-old company that I formed for 17. It's going to be 17 in February. So, be look out for it. And, yeah, I just don't want to... I just want this Elgin thing chugging, so there you go. Continue on.
But there were moments where I would, I never said things bad about Barney, but I would, how, once you become a teenager and that kind of thing, if you like something that all of your friends or other people are just, bashing on, and you don't know that you like that thing, you kind of just play along as one of the characters in that scenario instead of, admitting that, hey, I like this kind of thing that you're talking about. So I found myself involved in a lot of that a lot of times. Like with family, one of my nicknames that my family used to call me, and they'll do it sometimes today, is they used to call me Barney because I acted it out and watched it so much. There was a certain point where they were calling me that just because as more of a making fun of kind of thing than it was from a place of love. And so so those are the reasons you kind of you hunker into this little bubble that you have of the things that you love, but you don't let the outside world know that I love these things as much.
Yes.
So it's always interesting to talk to people who are different from the experience that I had, where they like you who separated from the show, and you have your reasonings for that. Some people, they just grow out of it because that's what we do. We grow up, we like things that are for our age groups. Others of us, they're either forced to stop watching it, or you force yourself to stop watching it because you think you probably shouldn't be watching it, that kind of thing. So it's always interesting. I think it's funny that one of your main gripes was that the kids were actors, which is hilarious.
Wow.
It's hilarious now to look back on and go, what was I talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially now that we deal with that kind of thing in our line of work. Every day, and we talk about it frequently, and talk about like casting and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's really really funny because now, working on Clubhouse with you, again has given me like a total insight into how production is managed. On a show like this, and what really goes into a show like this, and it's a great thing to bear witness to, and also to participate in as well. So, and it's something I really love being a part of. That's a plug.
Not only that, Emmy and Mr. K, and I'm trying to call him Mr. K for some reason. I did credit. I was one of the credits in season 3, however, as special thanks in the credits of Mr. K's Clubhouse. I was very surprised when I did reaction videos like this, like since episode 1000. I don't know the number of zone of those reacts at the time. I've done Mr. K's Clubhouse season 3 premiere of Practice, but at the time like this, I was very amazed. I'm thinking about, oh my god, what's gonna happen next, because I was doing reaction video of Mr. K's Clubhouse season 3 premiere. And I did this because I wanted to get permission to Mr. K and say, sure, why not? I just want to do it. And I was surprised because I was reacting to a Purple Road's podcast episode on Mr. K and Josh Martin for some reason. And then I had to tell Karan some permission and to react to Mr. K's Clubhouse. It was like sometime last year. I'm like, and he's like, sure, why not? And figure, why not just do it? And it's about my only gripe about this is to made for kids only, not for adults, because it's not for adults, because at a time like this it makes more sense. So I want to make it anyway. So it had to be that way when I did react to it, and it had to be reaction videos. It had to be. It's been so long for 3 seasons, and yes, I did react to Children's Laughter recently on his latest song, but I'm looking for more reactions to Mr. K's Clubhouse very soon. And sometime next year, I'm looking forward to do this. I get to work with Mr. K, but at the time like this, I'm gonna need to see him in person, because in Omaha, Nebraska, because at the time like this, I didn't spend Nebraska in my life ever, but I'll go there for the first time because I will be going there from my home state and figure out how to do this. So just want to go there and just be able to do something like that, and go there and just see Karan, Miss K, just want to make more sense. So if they're watching this, I have to go there and just write some ideas and figure this out, and just have me appear on Miss K's Clubhouse season 5 episode, not 4, because at a time like this, if he maybe appear on season 5, that'd be great. But if I do it on 4, and if I have other things to do, I'm not gonna do it. If you watch this, Mom, that has to make more sense, Continue on.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. So talking about Barney, so we know that you around 99, 2000, you kind of separated from it for a while. But here you are in Barney History Fans. When did you find the community again, and what was that transition like? Coming to the realization that maybe some of the things you thought about the show during your early, teenagers and that kind of thing, were wrong. What are some things that you maybe thought about the show as a teenager that maybe is actually true about some of the things about the show today, if any? Just talk a little bit about that experience of finding this community again, and what it's been like to transition back into being a Barney fan.
So basically, around a few years ago, just before COVID hit, I was working in a children's learning center. It was a private one. They had their own learning program and so on and so forth. And I would interact with kids like every single day.
Mm.
And then you get to know the kids and you get to know what they're interested in. And I consider myself to be an open-minded person. So,
Wow.
for example, I like Roblox, I like this, I like that. And it would be fun hearing about that sort of stuff. And
Mm.
then I was on the train home one day. I was going home, and I kind of had this epiphany, like, okay, some of the stuff that was around during our childhood was probably not as bad as we remember, or as bad as I remember specifically. And I was like, what if Barney wasn't as bad as I remembered? and
Mm.
then and then the world went into lockdown, and because COVID hit, and I took that opportunity to start my diploma of TESOL, so teaching English to speakers of other languages.
Yes.
And while I was doing my theory work, I would have something on in the background that I could listen to, like a podcast or a show or something. And one day I decided to look up some Barney stuff on YouTube, and I came across Drew Pearce's The Dinosaur Sensation documentary.
Which I did react to before. Go check out episode 320, 7-inch of LJPCBM. Continue on.
Barney's Beginnings.
Yeah.
And I decided to listen to that in the background as I was doing my theory work, and I was really interested to hear about like the germination of this idea of this purple dinosaur, and how the series came about, and how it was created, why it was created, the story of Cheryl Leach, and giving
Mm.
what was essentially a gift to her son, who was growing out of I believe he was growing out of leasing. No, he had nothing else to watch. He had nothing else to watch.
Yeah. There was nothing else available.
Wow.
And
If you watch this, Drew, aka Sonic Hog, this is for you. Continue on.
he was, and then she was like, the market calls for more stuff like this.
Wow.
And it was just so fascinating to hear and to see educators devising and producing their own show, which would go on to be a regional, for Texas, a national, and then an international success in pretty much that order. So it was just amazing to just hear how Barney kind of just came from this little idea that Cheryl Leach had when she was driving a car in Dallas, Texas,
Wow.
to this big cultural phenomenon that kind of transcends cultural barriers. It's just such a fascinating thing to listen to.
The story is insane, and that's why I encourage more people to. Now I'm a diehard advocate for Barney.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because the world has changed. Today, Barney is far more accepted than he was 10 or 15 years ago, and I think that's because the people who are showing their embrace for him are all of us. We're the adults now who are in the world, who kind of operate these social medias and that kind of thing. And so it's not so you're not I find myself not shying away so much from embracing the character, but also because now like you said, we have our own show where we target the same kind of audience. But that's why I encourage people to look into the story of Barney, or like any of those shows, because you can look at a show like Barney and you can go, even with the Backyard Gang, how low quality those
Mhm.
were, with the resources that they had at the time, and you can go, this stuff just looks so simple, and you don't really appreciate
Yeah.
it from the standpoint of how much work it takes to write a script, to cast kids, to work with kids, write songs, film it, distribute. Back at a time like that where there was no social media,
There was none.
They had-
No, at the time. Mm-hmm.
work hard to push these tapes to people and have them look at it, and then you turn around and now we're in 2023 where we have this character who has maybe fallen a little bit from the peak he was in the 90s, but it's still
Yeah, and currently, they're gonna have a reboot coming in the fall of this year on Max and Cartino, which currently, which I'm taping this from on LJPCBM, according to the description box saying this. This was filmed before the official Barney reboot announcement, which is probably exciting. Continue on.
It's a character that kids who have never seen a Barney episode for some reason still gravitate to this character. And so I'm glad you brought up Drew's documentary that he did the part one of so far, because he really did a lot of work on that. But it makes you really appreciate, like you said, the work that it took to go into a show that looks so simple and so childlike, but there really were so many elements that it takes to go into that. So I encourage people to always look at it from those kind of perspectives. You may not watch the show because it's not for you, but appreciate the work that Cheryl and even Dennis and Kathy and all those people in the very beginning put in to create what we have now. That gives us this show to talk about and that kind of a thing. So yeah, so then you jumped into back into the community a little bit, and you started doing, if I remember correctly, I didn't know you at the time when this was going on, but I knew of you. You started doing a deep dive of the series and the home videos and that kind of a thing.
Yes. Yes.
At that point, before you started doing that, you said your very first experience with Barney were those kind of post season 3, beginning season 4 home videos. Had you watched any of the TV show at any point when you were younger, or was this?
Well, it's actually really, really funny because when I was growing up, I exclusively watched ABC Kids, which was our national broadcaster. Now, in America, Barney and Sesame Street and all those shows were on PBS. So
Which I grew up with, by the way. Especially News Hour on PBS. Continue on.
North American national broadcaster.
Mm.
But in Australia, Barney was on a commercial broadcaster. I always remembered it being on Channel 9, but apparently it was on...
Wait. Channel 9, okay. Hold on, let me see. New tab, let me see. Australia. Let me see if Barney was on that time frame. Search. No. Oh, it's called the not. It's no. I think you're close, Emmy. It's called 9 Network. So there you go. I think it was in history. Let me check. Okay. No, I'm not looking up. No. It's called 9 Network. So, no, you're close. So, I'm looking at 9 Network. So, hold on. No, I'm not gonna look up the Barney Goes to Jail. I'm gonna go ahead and see where it left off. See where it airs on Australia. I don't see it everywhere on Australia. Fortunately, so yeah. That's okay. It's on. No, stop. I don't see anywhere. It just didn't say anything. Okay. I think I have to go ahead and move on to international. I don't see Australia anywhere. All I see was basically air dates. Let me see. No, come on. I think that's it. No. We'll see us. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay. I just have no time for this crap. Oh. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're screwed big time, but let's continue on. Oh. Oh. Australia, let me see it one more time. No, I didn't say anything about Australia. Let's continue on.
And for a bit, and it kind of bounced around between Channel 9 and Channel 10. But I remember it being on Channel 9 because I briefly watched, because sometimes I got up early in the mornings for some reason, and I would briefly see, like, season 7 and season 8 with Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato.
Wow.
And I'd just be like, it was alright, not for me.
Wow.
But I wasn't really, I didn't really watch the show because I was very weird. At the time, I was very weird about watching commercial television.
Wow. Wow.
I was very high and mighty. I was a very discerning 5-year-old.
Wow.
And I wouldn't watch. I would only watch ABC. So I didn't watch a lot of the PBS series until much later, until 3 years ago. And that's a bird.
Is it like your bird, or is it like a bird just from outside?
No, it's just a bird from outside because I live in a
cool,
cool.
though.
Wow. Wow. That's probably, the background noise in your head. Continue on.
I like nature, and so like I thought maybe it was a pet bird, but it's cool that a bird comes and like sings at your window.
No. I've had pet birds before. I've had a cockatoo,
Yeah.
and I've had a galara, rose-crested cockatoo that you guys call it in America. But no, they're just like random birds that just come to the window.
Yeah. If you watch Miss Sydney, you have some parrots before, but yeah, Sierra has one, Alex Gunn has one, something like that, but I didn't know Emmy had one. Continue on.
That's awesome. Sorry to take you off of your thought process from what you were talking.
No. It's fine. So I was saying, okay, yeah. So I didn't watch the PBS series until much later. Like 3 years ago, and then the only backyard game tape I'd seen up until that point was Barney Goes to School, or at least the first 5 minutes of it.
Wow.
Before I got scared and told my mum to shut the tape off.
Wish. His voice kind of throws you off because it's so deep. If you're used to the later stuff and then you go backwards.
Yeah. But then again, it's kind of amazing how Bob West was able to pull that voice off, and he was only in his early 30s.
So, yeah, definitely. And it's so weird to think, also kind of in that same vein, that Bob has said many times that when he auditioned for Barney, the voice he auditioned with is what we eventually knew him for, like the 4, 5, 6 season voice. And so sometimes I often find myself going, what would that look like with that season 6 voice coming out of the blue dog, as they call it?
Yeah, blue dog. Yeah, exactly. Continue on.
Been very. It's something that I would like to. It would have been something cool to hear or see. But yeah, Bob is obviously, as we know, is an extremely talented voice actor.
He was, yeah.
The lengths that he can go with his voice, especially like you said, around at the age he was when he started, is remarkable, to say the least. That's one word for it.
Yeah, this blue dog, Barney. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the voice behind Atari Super Bowl Monkey Team High Force Go. His name is Kevin Michael Richardson. I'm not sure if is that his name, who done the voice saying, "How's my little friend Tina?" But it was not that. But it's probably Bob West's voice. Continue on.
And David Voss in the costume as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know it. I saw the first 5 minutes of Barney Goes to School and shut it off. But,
Wow.
But, yeah, I think he really kind of gave a lot to the character. He kind of I guess provided the blueprint that other performers like David Joyner
Mm.
and Josh Martin were able to build on. David Joyner in particular really kind of incorporating those signature moves like the bell kicks and the 360 spins and
Wow.
Barney coming out on stage at the Majestic Theatre in Dallas, and the first thing he does is a 360.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
Just incredible.
For sure. Let's see here. So, when you started to go through that journey of watching the series in its entirety, when you joined back into the community, what was that experience? What was that experience like? What maybe like allude to what are some things that you really enjoyed about that experience? What are some things that you I think it might be obvious maybe that you didn't enjoy? What were you when you were watching the series? What were you looking for? Was it just for enjoyment? Were you watching it from um, a certain type of a lens? Like, just talk about that a little bit. What was that experience and journey like going back through that series? And watching.
I was just
Oh, and before I continue on, yeah, happy anniversary, the announcement that changed everything. Or what Emmi said during that taping of LJPCBM. Yeah, and boy history fans, yeah, and happy anniversary, yeah. I was very excited, for Boy's World, which is pretty exciting. Continue on.
I was just curious. I was just curious. Because I'd kind of abandoned. I was supposed to do watch-throughs of other programs, and I abandoned those when I encountered Barney. But when I did it, it was kind of I just wanted to see how the show actually approached educational concepts, because when I was growing up, I heard a lot of stuff, negative stuff that Barney lacked educational value, and Barney lacked this, and Barney lacked that, and I just wanted to see, well, I'm an adult, I'm an educator,
Well,
I want to see how the show actually approached these concepts, and because I've seen a lot of those prestigious kind of critically
Yeah.
acclaimed kid shows like Sesame Street. I haven't seen much of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood because that really wasn't a thing here.
Yeah.
but other-
Yeah, it wasn't a thing in the States, and it wasn't a thing in Australia at all. I know. And at the time frame, my grandma Craig was originally born 100 plus years ago, this past January, and I miss her a lot. So, yeah, she had experienced Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in the States, so especially my papa. So, yeah, and especially the fact that my Aunt Kenny, Uncle Steve, and my Uncle Brad, I believe that some of my family members at the time, sadly to say my Aunt Candy at the time, I'm gonna say it personally that she's now in a wheelchair and didn't want to stand up at all. If you watch that Candy, I hope you get recovered, but that's just me. But no, Mr. Rogers was my childhood man. Continue on.
one at the time, and Barney pretty much matches those shows in terms of educational quality and educational value. It's just because it has its own style. It had its own style, and it had the preschool audience, which it catered exclusively to. I think that's where a lot of the criticism was leveled at, because Sesame Street has a lot of parental bonuses. Lots of other kid shows of that time period have had a lot of parental bonuses. Barney had pretty much zero. so obviously these adult critics watching this show and expecting that there would be something for them, and then noticing that there was nothing really for them, and going, oh, it's not for me, it's a terrible show.
Wow, criticism, eh? Continue on.
But yeah, as an adult educator, Barney is a fantastic at the job it does,
Yes.
and the kind of educational concepts it delivers, and it's full of educational value. It's fun, and there was a reason why it was just so popular, in America and overseas, because it did its job extremely well, and a lot of people don't recognize that it had a job to do, and it did that job extremely well. And then adults are, over here going, "No, it's not for me," and it's just, and then Barney just gets a really bad reputation because the adults watching it decided that if it wasn't aimed at them, at least partially, then it wasn't worth watching, which is very very sad and very very terrible.
The one thing that I don't think people realize is one of the reasons, like in the very early seasons, the whole Barney Says segment was literally created because, in a way, it was like a buffer for time if things were running too low or on runtime or that kind. But overall, what it was for was because it was to let parents know this is what we've learned in this episode. Sometimes when you watch a show like that aimed at preschoolers, it goes right over the adult's head because none of it is pertaining to them as the adult. But when you look back, you really see where those educational messages and content started to come in.
Wow.
And you're right; they were very unique in the sense of let's only focus on preschool children. I mean, that's the reason Cheryl created it, was because there was nothing for children that was aimed at the preschool range, right? And so Barney has always had that rap of it's only for preschool kids, and they never did anything for adults. But if you, and I'm sure you maybe noticed it as you watched the series from the beginning to, did you watch it all the way through to season 13, or did you stop?
I've seen bits. I've seen bits after season 8. At one point I'll watch those, but I've pretty much watched all the way through to season 8, and then I stopped.
Wow.
But, like as Barney progressed, there were very small pieces, but there were pieces in there for that adults would appreciate. The live shows, obviously, I think Steve White and he understood that it's not just kids coming to see the show. We have adults and maybe older siblings, so let's make the show appealing for everyone. So, the things that happen, like the Jurassic Park reference and Land of Make Believe, and those kinds of things,
Yeah, which I'm planning on doing as a boring jokes episode called Land Make Believe episode Boring Jokes. Continue on.
Did start to toss a little bit to the adults, but I think a lot of people, when they look at Barney, they always look at it from the nostalgic point. So it's always like when we're talking Barney and what they did, and it's always usually the very early years of Barney, and that's what defines everything else. And so like people who hate the way that the show went in the end and that kind of thing, they're also very nostalgic Barney fans. So it's always a lot of season 1, 2, and 3 were like my top things. So those obviously would never compare to a season 10, 11, 12, 13 because they're vastly different shows, obviously, in a sense. But there are those moments where like adults can appreciate some of those things, or like some of the jokes that would be said, or like the bickering that happens with BJ and Baby Bob. Some of those kids did not understand those things, but older kids or adults definitely did. So they kind of toss that stuff in there just a little bit. Let's see. So I had a question here. If you were approached, let's say you were approached by Mattel today, and they said, "Hey, Emmy, we want you to be the showrunner or the producer for the reboot of Barney and Friends," what would you do differently? Like, what would a Barney and Friends look like if you were put in charge of reviving that and bringing it back? Would it be something like very close to what it was in the early years? Would you obviously it would have to be updated for modern time, but kind of what do you think a Barney show ran by Emmy would look like?
First of all, it wouldn't be nothing like Coco Melon.
Good.
Wow.
It would be nothing would be actually a one thing that did, just to go off on a slight tangent, one thing that kind of did break my heart. Brum was one of my favorite shows growing up, and then I realized that it got turned into like this CGI horror show.
At the time, Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey. Yeah, that stupid. Yeah, that type of horror flick. I'm like, geez, what's gonna happen next between now and the CGI Pixar movies? Now currently there's a CG body look in the 20s difference body. I'm like, geez, what's gonna happen next? The reboot side of the news reports, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next with Barney? I saw in the news last year. I'm like, wow, I'm freaking excited about this. But then they realized they hated it. Okay, so what's the point? Wasn't charging me and say I'm excited about it. I'm like, okay, does that make sense? I don't want to do it. So, I know it's getting late while I'm taping this LJB ads episode right now. It's almost midnight, so I'm taping this LJB ads right now, so and it's getting late right now, so I'm not gonna do a commercial break while I'm taping this episode of LJB ads. I'm almost done with 100 episode of racist jokes, but we'll probably have to finish this episode of LJB ads, and after this is over, I'm getting ready to go to bed pretty soon, but that's just me, of course. Let's just finish it off.
Completely divorced from what it was. So, Barney would not be anything like that. Barney would be very, very close to what it was in the early seasons. It would take place I'm not sure if it would take place at a school, but any setting where there's like an inside and an outside. I guess kind of similar to the caboose and the park in season 7 onwards.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, but also maybe shorten it just a tad, maybe by about 10 minutes, so it would be more like a 20-minute show rather than a 30-minute show. But it would still have a through line. Like it wouldn't be like the later seasons where you have one episode and then they're smushed together. It would have a through line. All the characters would still be like costume characters, so it would still to retain, I guess, that sense of these are real physical beings. It would still have a kid cast. It would still have like a variety of topics and guests coming in and showing off all these different things. To make the show exciting, and also kind of instead of what we're usually doing, this is what we're also doing. It would also be great if the original cast returned in some capacity.
Exactly.
Maybe like if the body actors, if they would be up to it, that would be fantastic. Voice actors definitely. So the original cast that was there 30 years ago, I'm clarifying. Nothing against the cast that were there from season 7 onwards. They're great. But I would definitely offer it to the original cast to come back. Just to add that sense of authenticity to the characters they played, and that it, because it would be great if Barney was the definitive Barney. It would be great if Baby Bop was the definitive Baby Bop. It would be great if BJ was the definitive BJ.
Yes.
Their voice actors didn't change, but their body actors did. But Barney's voice actor obviously changed a few times after Bob left. But it would be great if the original cast would come back. The educational concepts would reflect the modern ones, so it wouldn't feel like too outdated, because obviously what worked 30 years ago is probably not going to work in 2023.
Now taping it wise, LGB ads was in 2024. So there you go. Continue on.
Above all else, it would still be, embody that same spirit that Barney had. It would still be about this dinosaur that came to life, that was a guardian, that was a facilitator, that was a helper, and would still kind of just be there and just give you a friend and unconditional love. That, and honestly, that's the heart of it. That's the heart of everything that Barney stands for.
I love it. And you're right. Barney does stand for unconditional love.
Exactly. Go on. Continue on.
It's interesting because I always think that Barney. Sometimes I believe he came right. It came right at the right time. Other times I think that it came too early.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what I mean by that.
Yeah.
People hated Barney so much in the '90s because all he did was his whole personality just exudes love, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the '90s, like we saw with the documentary and that kind of thing, everyone was like, "Oh, love," right? It was all violence and like if you love me, something's wrong with you, right? And so he existed in that moment where everyone else were not showing much love to each other,
Mm-hmm.
which in one way was the perfect time. But now we're in a social media world where, believe it or not, the world that we live in now is the '90s exemplified because it's so easy to just say things to people behind a keyboard onto social media, and without having to do the face to face like you had to in the '90s. And so now we have far more bullying and far more people voluntarily just throwing hate to each other. Where I think that's where it comes in. Where I think sometimes maybe Barney was too early and ahead of his time because now is a time more than ever when we could use a character like this who reminds everyone that they're loved and that you should love others, right? We don't really have characters like that anymore.
No, we do not.
Just that, along with educational things, but the main message is, hey, I love you, and I hope that you love me back, and that's okay. Now we're in that kind of a world where it's popular to be the mean person, right, on social media or in those comment sections and that kind of thing. So that's what I mean by when I say I think he was at the right time in one way, being in the '90s, but also a little bit too early because now we have his old things, but that character in a way doesn't exist to the rest of the world unless you're part of that community in a sense, right? So that's one reason why I think if a show was to come back the way that you kind of described it would work beautifully because there's not a lot that you would need to upgrade with a show like Barney besides the educational aspects and how you approach them, right? And that's just because kids change, the world changes, but the overall messages of what it was about remains the same today as it will 50 years from now or that it did 30 years ago.
Yes.
Let's get how well do you think you know Barney and Friends?
Hopefully, really well, considering my standing in this community.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna play two games with you. They're very short. One is I have three. I have two questions that I'm gonna ask you, or three questions that I'm gonna ask you about the series.
Okay.
All right. These questions.
It's like a game show difference. Continue on.
Know if you're someone who is you've been in the history fans group and that kind of thing. So if you're someone who's followed information that's been given by cast and crew and that kind of thing, or even fans that know a lot about it, I think you would be able to answer these questions with no problem. My first question is number one: can you name all of the seasonal Barney performers? So the Barney performers who performed as Barney on the season and some within the season or the home videos within some capacity, not counting live shows.
Oh, so the seasons of the PBS series.
Yes.
Okay, so David Joyner, Josh Martin, Kerry Stinson, David Joyner, Josh Martin, Kerry Stinson. Is anyone else? So not counting the live shows or the videos.
No. Counting the videos, not the live shows.
Oh, the videos. Okay, so all right. I think Antoine Steele was in a couple of videos. Was that Morris guy?
Morris O'Neill, yeah.
The Morris. What the? I've forgotten his last name. His first name is Morris.
Morrison.
Maurice.
And there's one more. So counting the home videos of Barney in its entirety, I should have said. So not the live shows, but Barney in its entirety.
Yes, yes. Don't count the live shows, exactly.
Counting videos, seasons, there's one person that you're missing.
Oh, is it Pat? I mean Patrick. What's his face? Did Colorful World?
Right.
Yeah, the live show. Come on, Emmy.
So it's a very obvious one. So Barney in its entirety.
David Voss.
David Voss.
David
Yes.
Voss.
I can't believe I forgot him. And he's in this group. Oh no.
Should have known. Should have known it was David Voss. Continue on.
We love you, David.
We love you, David.
Good job. So that's 6 for 6. So yeah.
And yes, I did subscribe to David Voss's YouTube channel. Continue on. Well, no. And entirely because I seen his YouTube videos before, and it was fantastic because I talked to Dave a lot. So it's not a lot, but maybe just a few times, and been busy a lot. And over the 2 decades, I was doing to talk to Dave. I did apologize to Dave Voss, and I did send him a link to my reaction video to my the Purple Rose podcast that the Carrie System was hosted at that time frame with David Voss and the live concert show actor body performer named Rick I can't pronounce his last name. Sorry, it's from Cover World at the time. In the time frame, he was like but David Voss was like and my arm suddenly hurt for no reason. Like, ow. The hell am I thinking? And yes, I can say hell, and this reaction video, but yeah, I can make more sense because I'm trying to figure out what's going on next because I'm trying to figure out what's going at the time frame, and it's already midnight, past midnight East, and by the time I finish this episode's over, I'm gonna get some sleep. So yeah. But yeah. But anyway, but no, I did talk to David about it. He accepted my apology, and it's great seeing my reaction video, seeing your reaction video to the Dave Voss interview of Purple Rose podcast. Great to be friends again. I'm like, great, thank you, David. Much appreciated. Continue on.
Carrie Stinson, Josh Martin, Antoine Steele, Maurice Scott.
Yes.
Maurice Scott, that was his name.
Yeah.
Maurice Scott, oh no, Neil. Damn it.
Let's see. So now can you name all of the studios where Barney was?
Okay. Color Dynamics in Allen, Texas. Then they went to Las Colinas.
Yep.
And then they went to Carrollton.
Yes.
And then they went to Carrollton. I don't know the name of the studio that's in Carrollton, but I know that they went to Carrollton.
Oh, you got them all right. That one, the last one's a very hard one. It's Hit Entertainment Studio.
Hit Entertainment, yeah.
Studios, excellent, thank you.
There you
See,
go.
I learned something today.
My last question for the trivial side of it: can you name 3 kids who started on Barney who are famous now that are not Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato?
Okay. Madison Pettis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of Court at the House in the time. It was part, and I don't think it started on Jake and there went Pirates, but then she went out to do something. And there's two more. Go on, Emmy.
That's Daniel Vega.
Well,
Madison Pettis, Daniel Vega. And see, it's mainly the later season kids who are like. Oh, but there was one. Oh, there's one kid now who's actually like actively doing series, and I've forgotten his name. Um, you know what? I'll just go. I'll just go. Hopefully, Peter Hamilton counts.
No, it's not. No, it's Debbie Ryan. You know.
I would agree that she counts. I mean, she was on Broadway. I don't know if she still is, but she was on Broadway.
Yeah, she's on Broadway. Yes, and she's doing. I have to check on Wikipedia. Speaking of which, well, actually, Pia Hamilton. We see. So at the time, so I did a reaction video to the Broadway, the whole Pia Hamilton episode on LJPCBM. Go check it out. In 2022, Hamilton appeared on the documentary "I Love You, You Hate Me," recounting a bit of her time with Barney and friends. Now, she was the voice of the Chuck E. Cheese production. Okay. From 1990 until 1995, Hamilton appeared on one of the Donut Repair Club kids in the religious and religious VHSers. Oh my god, not religious videos ever. I want to do Donut Repair Clubs, but I won't do this boring jokes series, but this, okay, whatever. Where is it? Like, Lion King, well, okay, Lion King Broadway, let me see. I have to check it out one more time. See where that is. I have to see. Because I think it was Pia Hamilton for some reason. But yeah. No. Nala. I don't see Nala Pia Hamilton on there everywhere. Yeah, you gotta help me look for that. So, Broadway, yeah. There's a 2019 UK Ireland, yeah. Musical thing. I don't see anything related to the Broadway musical, so. Oh, yeah, in March 2020, show suspended production of Broadway due to COVID-19 pandemic. The Lion King resumed Broadway performance on September 2021. However, during the week ending on January 21st, 23, Lion King achieved the highest weekly gross in Broadway weekly history of $4.3 million. Wow. Let's continue on.
For a while.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Are you thinking of Jerry Lewison?
Yes.
Wow.
Listen. Yes, that guy.
Season 12 and 13. Yeah, good job. So you do know Barney. Good. That was a little test. Congratulations. You got 3 out of 3 for the questions. For the trivia questions.
Wow.
So, which I'm really impressed because I don't know how many people know that much, you know, because some people only watch certain parts of like the series and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or they don't pay attention to everything about it. So yeah, you got 3 out of 3. On this podcast, moving forward, before we end this thing, one thing that I ask everyone to kind of bring with them is something special revolving around Barney that you own, that you hold dear to you. Can you share with us what you have today for this episode?
It's an autograph I got from Bob West when he did the GalaxyCon virtual live signings, and it was the first time that I'd met him, and I remember being super nervous. It's actually kind of funny because since then we've interacted a fair amount since then, and now I've been drafted to do stuff on his Facebook page.
Nice.
So I've come a long way in, in those
Wow.
2 years, but I'll always treasure this autograph, and I'll always treasure this first time that we met. And
Wow.
just
You lucky, Emmy, because I have seen Bob West in a cameo .com. I don't know what it's called now, because at the time I just sent him a cameo. He sent me a cameo at the time when I did LJPCBM 500 at the time, and it was great to see Bob do a cameo, and it was great to see him do that. So I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And just say it, and just like, oh my god, what the hell am I doing? So there you go. Makes sense. Continue on.
what an incredible day that was to meet him. But I also met Patty and Julie as well. So it was so
Wow.
great just meeting all three of them at GalaxyCon live that day.
I'm jealous. That's awesome. I've never done any of the cons that they've done. I did have Bob do a cameo for my daughter Lula when she turned 5. And so he did a cameo for her. That was right before Onyx was born too. So I've been able to talk to him, and obviously I've talked to him since then in other capacities, but
Wow.
never been able to do like a con or talk to like Julie and Patty.
Yeah, I've done a con, if you're wondering, con, but I've done so many cons. 1% at Comic Con 3 times. This will be my 4th time doing this in May. One was for MomoCon. That's gonna be my 3rd time in like this May. Again, like I said, this May. I've been I cut several cons, and another will be a couple of cons. I don't know what it's called, but basically what it is really, I never attended just a couple of cons in Savannah. But that was basically it, because I've been in so many cons, and like, jeez. And I was jealous, because I would see Bob West in a MomoCon, nor as, Savannah Comic Con. But I did met Josh Martin in a, Savannah Comic Con once, and he did autograph my Mr. Rogers notebook at the time. He didn't give me my photograph at the time, but he did send me an autograph. He's like, "Hey, remember, I love you." But he did a great job of that, and I did pay him credit for it. If you watch this, Josh Martin, this for you. But of course, I did tell him what's going on next. But after that, I did got some Funko Pops, and then meanwhile, I did tell Rebecca and Blake Williams about this. A friend, my friend Jory Scow and Eric Lima, about the and this look like heaven, man. I want to see some Funko Pops so badly. I'm like, jeez, you look so lucky. I'm like, and then meanwhile, my cousin Leanne was like, we didn't know you were gonna be at Comic Con. We were there too. I'm like, I'm so jealous of you both, you and Leanne and Olivia. If you watch Leanne, I can't wait to see you at either Comic Con or Savannah Comic Con and MomoCon. Even though, and you gotta meet Lucas Bradley and Zachary Noah. If you watch Lucas Bradley and Zachary Noah dispute guys. So there you go. Continue on.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you had that experience, and that was going to be my final question to you. Just could you have ever imagined being a Barney fan and then moving away from it and coming back to it, that you would be where you are now within the community and like having friends in someone like Bob West and being asked to do, moderate his things and all of that? Could you have ever imagined that to happen?
I don't know. You'll probably have to. I'll probably have to confirm that with Bob West that we are friends. I don't want to go around assuming
Yes,
stuff.
please do. And yes, I did see his comment post and say, "Great to see you both. What an excellent idea for a podcast." And I agree with Mr. K saying that. Thank you, Bobby, support the love. I do, yeah. And I have to agree with this because I haven't seen his live streams I've seen bits and pieces of his live streams because I was too busy at the time with both his co-op and other things. I did see bits of his things. Never his holiday live streams because I was been busy all the time, you know. But let's continue on.
Assuming stuff, and him going, okay, just take it chill.
Yes, please.
But yeah, I mean, just going from separating from all of that, and then coming back, and then going to this virtual Galaxy Con, and then meeting everyone, and just regularly interacting with a lot of the cast and crew has been incredibly strange and incredibly wonderful and incredibly incredibly humbling in a sense, because I think we as a committee, we are so blessed to have these people give us their time and give us their energy and share a lot of what's going on with the production. Steve White and David Voss and Joseph Hernandez and all of those people, but also Bob West, who is just an incredible human being, and just who is just so great to the fans, and and is actually, it's really funny because when I first found out about like Bob's actual personality, I was actually very surprised because I thought that he would be like this kind of guy just living out in the woods,
Wow.
just not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
Just not, but no, he's a giant nerd, and
Yeah, giant. Yay! Continue on.
Right, and I love him to pieces, and
Wow.
And look, I'll just stop there, otherwise I'm just going to keep rambling. But yeah.
Wow.
No worries. That's a perfect way to end this. It's we've been so fortunate to have this community of people where the people who worked on the show embrace us in a way as a family. They talk to us and they interact with us, and that's not something a lot of people get from the people that they look up to. And I think we're truly I think I speak for all of us when we say we're truly honored that we have found this community of people that we get to experience things with. I'm honored that you were willing to do this podcast and be the first guest for this new venture that we're doing, and so thank you to you for coming on. I think it's a perfect way to end it. And I'll just say to all the fans out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I can't wait to have you here in your spot of love. We'll see you soon.
So that was Spot of Love's podcast, episode number 1. Emmi, versus Bonnie Houston fans moderator. What do I think about this episode? I think it was amazing. Spot what's going on next between now and the whole thing. Okay, music was provided by Andrew Olsen. Wow, okay. Spot what's going on next and the whole thing. And like, wow. Spot would make sense in any way. Anyways, guys, that was a reaction for 1,456. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for going to be LJ reaction for 1,457, which will be about Spot's West Podcast, episode number 2. Bonnie fan named Heather. Till next time, suggest Bob's and paper. Good morning, LJ reaction for 2. Out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who life, that which is always happening, but I try all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.